I know a law firm that will represent you. Anyway.
Yeah, fantastic.
Very apropos. Anyway, that is called The Murder. We have two of the guys from Purging Sin here with Jenny and I this morning on Matt Connarton Unleashed on Saturday, July 20th, 2024. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Thanks for having us, man.
Hey, please introduce yourselves and tell us who you are and what you do in the band.
Hi, this is Anthony Nicastro. I am the lead singer and rhythm lead guitar player of the band.
I am Brian Barksdale. I am the backing vocals and bass player.
And who are we missing?
So we are missing our new drummer, Ed Battles, and our other guitar player, Sean Schaefer, is not with us today.
Okay. Now, neither of them have been murdered, I hope.
Oh, no.
Okay, just making sure. Why, you look like you're about to say something.
I thought about it, but I don't know. Your hand is on the controller.
Oh.
He's getting ready to shut me down again. You see this?
Yeah,
See what I have to put up with?
I mean, we are playing Eyewitness right
we
now.
have a
so
great
yeah.
law firm.
Yes. But that's as evidenced in one of our ads.
Yeah, just call one of those guys with the really catchy jingles or something. Yeah.
That's right. Now, Brian, were you here with us last? I remember Anthony, you were here. Were you here also, Brian?
Yes, I was here last time. Yep.
Okay. And is the lineup the same? I know it's been a few years.
So it's actually changed since the last time we were here, because I think the last time we were on the show, we had our drummer Zach King with us.
Okay.
So yeah, the lineup's changed a little bit since the last time we were here.
Okay. Melanie, La Liberty in the chat room says, I would love to know the inspiration for this one. Well, I think we're all curious.
So that actually came as a blend of multiple stories, one being the assassination from John Lennon from Mark David Chapman, and then the assassination attempt from Reagan. And the one thing that both had in common were both assailants were infatuated by the book Catcher in the Rye. So I took all three and blended that into one song. So the first verse is all about John Lennon's murder. The second verse is about the assassination attempt, and it's an infatuation with Jodie Foster. Yeah. Trying to prove our love to. He was trying to prove his love to Jodie Foster.
Yeah.
And then the bridge section was about the Catcher in the Rye. And actually I reference it in the bridge itself, in the Rye, and then at the end they're institutionalized and they have their thoughts. They got, they wanted fame, they wanted recognition, but if they ever got let out, who knows what they'd be capable of again. So without repent, I'd kill again.
And it's a little bittersweet considering the fact in recent years Reagan's attempted assassin has actually been released from prison.
He got really like what?
And now he's playing, and now he's trying to start a record label, playing acoustic guitar. So it's just like, okay, this.
Don't tell him about us.
Yeah.
I know, right? Well, yeah. I was gonna say, I remember a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I was listening to Howard Stern one morning, and they were talking about that and playing some because John Hinckley Jr. He's playing shows. He's got a. There was like a live performance that he did, him and an acoustic guitar, and they played some of it, and it wasn't very good, for one thing, but it's weird. It's such a weird world that we live in, and here's John Hinckley Jr., who attempted to assassinate Ronald Reagan, playing a show somewhere, and I think he kind of got shut down. I think his music career has already been kind of shut down because obviously he's a bit of a controversial figure, having attempted to assassinate.
That's an understatement, but yeah.
And, I don't know, I don't know how anyone in the music industry would want to, attach themselves to him.
Yeah. I mean, considering they've had some colorful characters in the music industry before. I mean, even the guitarist from the former guitarist of Cannibal Corpse, he was arrested for having human remains in his house, and it was just like, so he's no longer with Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah,
so, and again, I guess anything's possible. I don't know how else to say so.
I mean, people complain about cancel culture, but there do have to be some limits in terms of what we'll tolerate, right?
Right.
I think I would draw the line at the music of a would-be assassin.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah. But so I wondered what the so that's what the song's about. It is and Anthony, you wrote the lyrics?
Yep.
Is everything that you write kind of dark like that, or what? What's
I don't think I have much of a happy song in
Right.
the whole catalog.
right.
Some are a little bit more dark than others. And it was funny because when I actually wrote the chorus first in that song, I was actually at the music mill just trying out guitars, and I was just humming along, and I made the chorus riff, and I'm like, ooh, I like that. So I took a little video snapshot of me, and I'm just humming na 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 did the murder for you.
Yeah.
You know?
So so this brings me to the story that I was going to mention before we came in. So when he originally pitched the song to our original lineup when our original guitar player Matt Harris, God rest his soul, was still alive.
Yeah.
We were just like looking at each other like, wow, I do not like this song. But then again, we were like in between drummers at the time, and just like the song just sounds just so disorganized, so anything. But like once we actually got a drummer back, like the song just like really came together. And then of course it becomes the first single that we release off of our second album, Vindicated.
Yeah.
And it became a much bigger hit than I ever thought was ever possible.
Told you so.
Yeah.
I know. Hey, I've been wrong before, but and it was actually kind of funny because like we after we had recorded it as a single before we had it completely mastered, we put out a demo on our YouTube channel, and some other stations in the area actually caught wind of it like before, and they thought it was like us releasing a new single. So we're like looking at each other like, oh no. So they're playing the unmastered track on the radio, and just like, wow, we probably should have thought that one through. But after we had it put on the album, it became one of our more popular songs over the past few years. So
Oh, that's great. And to have it organically catch on like that, like radio stations playing the unmastered version. I mean, that's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took us by surprise, honestly. We're like,
Yeah.
whoa.
big time surprise. Yeah.
Let's get the album mastered now. We
Yeah.
gotta get mastered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so this is why it's just like if we have anything new coming out, it's just like we'll release like snippets and teasers and stuff like that. But yeah, if somebody's trying to get on hold of our music, and it's like they're going to just immediately grab it and run with it. So
Yeah. I was really, by the way, you mentioned Matt Harris. I was really sad about that. It's been a few years now.
Yeah,
right?
it's been 4 years
4
now.
years. Yeah.
Yeah, September 8th, 2020.
Yeah. He had never been on this show, but I knew Matt just from the scene.
Yeah.
And I forget what band he was in when I first met him. It was
So-
Blackout Frenzy was one of his bands.
Yep.
might have been that.
Yeah, Blackout Frenzy. I remember was one of his last ones, but I can't remember what the.
Because I remember because I remember when I used to promote.
Oh,
shows.
Bloodshed Unreal was the other one that he was with.
Oh yeah. But I think it was Blackout Frenzy he was with when I used to book them.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the genuinely nicest people I've ever
Without
met.
a doubt.
It's so.
And I got to tell you, like, it just shows how much of an impact he had on the local scene, because as soon as the news resonated that he had passed away, I was actually very amazed. Another show did a segment on him, actually read his obituary on the air, said where his wake and funeral was going to be. And we just see like so many of the other local bands that he's either been with or he's friends with, just that the crowd that he drew to his wake was amazing. It really showed how much of an impact he had on this community, and it was nice to see so many people come out and pay their respects for him. It really was.
We were very humbled and very floored, honestly, about the amount of support that came out and drove. So he knew a lot of people, not just within the music industry, but his work industry too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And he was just a very genuinely good-hearted person.
Oh yeah,
And,
Absolutely.
yeah.
It was tragic to first to watch it from day one when he got the diagnosis till the very end.
It was cancer, right?
Yeah.
Colon cancer,
Yeah. It started off as colon cancer, but then just metastasized to different organs, and
But it was one of those things where he caught it extremely late, and like he had all the signs, but he never got checked for it. And
Oh, okay.
that was really kind of what did him in.
So get checked, everyone. If you're listening, get checked.
Yeah. And this is why the same thing, like every time I talk to like somebody in the medical industry, this is why they're reducing the age of like a first colonoscopy down to 45, because now there are more and more signs of like colon cancer that are popping up much earlier on, and and it's one of the most preventable that you can get. Like if you catch it quick, it can be cured.
And he was young.
He was
right?
44 when he went.
45.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah. Unbelievable. How long was he in Purging Sin?
5 years.
5 years. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. No, I was very sad to. I can't believe it's been 4 years already that he's been gone. Wow.
Yeah.
But I mean, did you guys? What was that like for you guys in terms of? Very often people deal with grief creatively. Did any music come out of that?
There were 2 songs that came out of it. And one will be played later on the show is a song called Hell on the Horizon.
Oh my God, what a great track.
So
Yeah.
that was the last song that he has ever recorded with us.
Oh,
So,
I had no idea.
yeah. So,
oh wow.
So the second guitar solo in that song after the clean bridge breakdown that we have, that's him playing guitar.
Yeah.
But we also wrote a song and put it on our second album, Vindicated, which is called Shell of Bones. So the riff was actually composed by him, but he had not played on this track. So that was a song that we wrote
Like an homage to him.
as an homage to him. Yes.
Oh, I had no idea. Wow. Yeah, it's a great song. Great
Yeah.
song. Yeah, I look forward to sharing that with everybody. Now, so are you guys? What have you been doing? Have you been playing a lot of shows, or have you been?
We've been very busy, and it's.
Yeah.
I mean, so obviously, like a lot of stuff has been kind of just. It's been slowing down, but also picking up. And summer now for us has actually gotten very busy. We actually just came off of a show at Tupelo Music Hall. We opened for the all female 80s metal band Vixen.
Oh, no
So-
kidding! You opened for Vixen. That's cool.
So we just got that one, and then of course the big one that we have next Thursday is we're returning to the Bank of New Hampshire Pavilion to play on the hazy little stage before Godsmack, Nothing More, and Flat Black.
Okay.
So that's really the big one. But
Vixen, did they play? Obviously, they played "Edge of a Broken Heart."
That was
whatever
the closer,
it's called. That
yep.
was the closer. Yeah.
yeah,
Did they play "How Much Love"?
We were watching the Moch
Weird
booth
Mooch-
for a lot.
Oh,
of the
man.
show, unfortunately.
and it's funny because like the only original member of Vixen is is Rocky Petrucci, the drummer.
Yep.
But and they just debuted their new lead singer. I can't remember what her name was, but
Yeah.
very nice group of girls. And
Because they put out a new album just within the last year, I think.
yes,
It's a-
and funny thing is they actually had a lead singer, Lorraine Lewis, and they recorded that album with her. I think their single was called Red.
yes.
But it's funny because like I had a situation with my so my aunt actually met Lorraine Lewis a few months ago. She's actually recorded. My aunt has recorded backing tracks on a Lorraine Lewis track.
no kidding.
So I was thinking to myself, I'm like, so my aunt is talking up Lorraine Lewis about us, and I was thinking, man, this would come full circle if like we got the show, we're opening for Vixen, but then Lorraine Lewis leaves Vixen months before we're supposed to open for this. So it was this close to becoming full circle. Like
Yeah.
the fact that like they were talking us up, and then the next thing you know, we're playing with Vixen. So
That's pretty wild.
yeah.
I think too, like her leaving, it was there's some kind of issue, right? I think legally or something. Like if I'm not mistaken, it was not.
I
I-
haven't looked up on it.
I think it was like a creative thing, but I really can't remember what the reason was.
I saw something about it, but there was some sort of a disagreement, as so often happens
Yeah,
in the music industry. Yeah. So the drummer, she's the only original member.
correct.
Yeah.
They were all nice people. We got to hang out after the show with them till they booted us all out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a couple of pictures on our Instagram of us. I mean, both me and Anthony with our respective players. So I'm with the bass player, he's with the lead singer. So
Cool.
it was a good night. We had fun.
Now, what is so in a scenario like that though? So how do you? I mean, what is your mindset? Because you have to know going into that. This is you guys don't sound like Vixen, and you know, and the typical. I don't want to say typical, but you know, I mean, Vixen. For anyone who doesn't know, for youngins who might be listening, you know, they were you could call them hair metal. Some people don't like that term, but
Yeah, they were.
you know, from the 80s, you know, they had a couple of big hits and but very much that sound, and you guys are very much not that sound. So how do you, like, going into that, do you worry about that? Do you
It depends on who we're playing with. I mean, I was amazed that we actually got the show with Vixen. Obviously, there's other like bands from the 80s that are little bit more attuned to our music. I mean, Metal Church, when we played with them last year, they were definitely a lot closer to our sound.
Yeah.
But I think it's also a matter of, like, because our sound is so unique, it's kind of hard for us to pair with other similar types of artists.
Yeah.
But as I said, they've been booking some really great shows at Tupelo, and
yeah.
as soon as I caught wind that Vixen was coming, I was just like, you know what, I was gonna take a gamble on it, see if they needed it. I was amazed they reached out and they said yes, and we just hopped on it as quickly as we could.
Yeah. And then so what happens? Like, is the crowd? Is there kind of a process of winning them over, as there sometimes is in these situations?
I mean, it didn't, like, they were loving it from the first, no. I mean,
Good.
there were people. There was the first table in front of us. They like all headbanging.
Good.
Now, I mean, one thing we started doing more and more as the crowd gets closer to us, close enough, you can start playing, like, handing them a guitar pick, in mid stroke and go grab another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's stuff like that, the interaction. So you're not like 10, 20 feet away from them. You can, get, even though there's like no mosh pit in front of you, there's still a lot of engagement and interaction,
Right.
as well. And the crowd reaction was phenomenal. When we played like clean parts of a song, they had their cell phones up.
Good.
When I was doing the hey hey heys, they would chant on it back.
Yeah.
So I mean that's really, it's still, it always comes like as a shock to me every time I do something on vocal wise and they respond back to me. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow. I'm like,
But
I'm in command.
and at the same time, with us being like an opening act for a lot of these guys, is our job is to just get the crowd fired up, getting them ready. And like, if we have the crowd excited and enjoying our music at the same time, I know we've done our job.
And we're very lively on stage. We're not statues by any stretch of the mind.
Right. Right. Oh, by the way, I missed this comment. Do you guys know Bruce from Legion of Solace?
I do not know.
He's in Massachusetts, but does a ton of work with musicians from all over New England and promotional wise. And we had him on the show. Great guy and someone you should definitely meet. But he mentioned this. We were talking earlier about the Murder song. He said, "Don't forget Manson wrote a Guns N' Roses song."
Which one was that?
I can't remember.
I thought he worked with the Beach Boys.
Manson?
Oh, Charles Manson.
Charles Manson. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was with the Beach Boys, or the Monkees. I'd have to look that up. I'm pretty sure he worked with one of those bands in the '60s.
Yeah. I know he was inspired by Helter Skelter by the Beatles. I know that.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Much like any modern horror movie, like, the best inspiration comes from the worst of society. That was a quote I remember watching from a celebrity graveyard channel that I follow, and they actually. When I was watching that same channel, I remember they highlighted the grave of Ed Gein, which was the inspiration of like Silence of the Lambs, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and was actually the premises for Slayer's Dead Skin Mask.
Oh, okay.
So, because he was the Plainfield Butcher, the guy who would tear off people's skin and use it for clothing or lampshades or furniture, stuff like that. So that's what I mean. It's just like some of the most horrific things, like, in songs and media, come from like reality. So it's strange, but it really is.
Now, what was opening for you guys? Opened for Metal Church?
Yep.
Yes,
That must have been cool.
that was fun.
They were awesome. They were so much fun.
So those guys, I met those guys back in 2019 on board the inaugural Megadeth cruise that I happened to just win a free cabin to.
Oh, no kidding.
And it's funny because Sted Howland, who is formerly of the band Wasp, he's now playing drums for Metal Church. He's from Onset, Massachusetts, so he's a fellow Mass native like me. So we started talking over the past few years. Really nice guy. And we've just stayed in contact over the years. And I heard they were coming to town, and I was just like, can we play with you guys? And we worked it out. We got a hold of it. And then, of course, the new lead singer, Mark Lopes, who's in Ross the Boss from Manowar, he actually took over for Mike Howe after he passed away in 2021. And it's funny because I talk to Mark all the time. He's, once again, a fellow Massachusetts native. He actually went to high school with a friend of my dad's. So, and then we finally actually met each other playing the show together. And it's just like half the band is like based out of Seattle and half the band is based out of Boston. It's just like, it's such a cool mix. But but those guys, they're hot tickets. They're they're great guys all around.
That crowd must have been really into what you're
Oh,
doing.
Oh yeah, they
was-
loved it.
Yeah.
That was probably one of our more livelier crowds we've had, even though they had they had the dining room table thing all across the stage, and like that was the thing we've heard from all the fans was like, oh, it should have been standing room. We should have had mosh pits. It's quite funny.
Bruce just put this in the chat room. So the song Charles Manson wrote that Guns N' Roses recorded was called "Look at Your Game." Look at Your Game, Girl. It was on the album The Spaghetti Incident. Oh, okay.
Okay.
And those of us who are old enough may remember the album being pulled from the shelves as a 14-track album and being re-released as a 13-track album. This is why social backlash against the single. I don't remember that. Thank you, Bruce, for sharing that. I actually don't remember that, but I mean, I do remember there being some sort of controversy around the Spaghetti Incident, but I didn't remember that it was that. That's interesting.
Now that was just a cover album, right? The Spaghetti.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that's-
Yeah, very interesting. But certainly not the first time that there's been controversy around a Guns N' Roses song and a song being pulled, because I remember at one point, what was One in a Million on? The song One in a Million.
like using
don't remember.
illusion, maybe. One.
No, it
don't
was
remember.
before that. Is it?
Was it? There's
It might be
Appetite.
No, Appetite definitely wasn't on that.
I think it's
one.
on Lies, GNR Lies.
Might be.
But I'm sorry, One in a Million. I remember they reissued that at one point because there's a couple of words in there that you really can't say. Yeah, so not the first time, but also Guns N' Roses is one of those bands that made any kind of controversy kind of work for them. Certainly.
The whole no publicity. There's no such thing as bad publicity.
Right.
Right.
Which does have its limits. I mean, it's not literally true, but it is true in a lot of.
I mean, you even look at the album that was released by Slayer back in 2021. It just it coincided just terribly, but perfectly with the days and the events of it. But it's just I mean, they advertise themselves as an anti-religion band anyway. But that really caused a controversy because it happened to be released on 9/11. Was the album God Hates Us All? And
Oh yeah.
So,
Yep.
So obviously that really kind of that's gonna leave some negative backlash. But yet, funny enough, it's one of the most popular albums they've ever released.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, that was always the dynamics in that band too, a little bit complicated creatively because Tom Araya is actually a devout Catholic.
Yes, and Kerry King is the one who's actually the Satanist.
There-
Yes.
Yeah, and very, very much an atheist,
Yeah.
Kerry King. Yeah.
Very much, yeah.
And I remember reading an interview once. I was always kind of fascinated by this, where somebody asked Tom Araya about that, and you got to sing these lyrics, but you're a Christian, and he said something like, I agreed with his point of view. It made sense to me. He just said, well, look, I mean, they're songs. These aren't necessarily my thoughts and ideas. When you're singing a song, you're kind of playing a character in a sense.
Right.
You're like the murder song. You're not you're not advocating for murder. You're putting yourself in the mind of
in the headspace
of
Right.
those people, right?
And there's a difference between and much like acting, there's a difference between what an actor plays and how the actor actually
Right.
acts in reality. Now,
Right.
you look at any of the black metal bands you see out there, like Dark Funeral, they practice what they preach. So they are the true Satanists, the blood drinking whatever. So
Is that true? Really?
yeah,
Oh.
that's what I mean. Same thing with what was the other one? Behemoth, the lead singer Nurgle, same thing. He's a devout Satanist.
I mean, there's a difference between acting versus advocating.
Right.
Yeah, of course. But even some of these guys who call themselves Satanists, because Satanism isn't literally, I don't think for most people, they don't actually worship Satan. It's just,
There's a
there's LaVeyan
Yeah.
Satanism. And
So basically, there is a difference between it. The actual Satanism actually believes in human sacrifice, drinking blood, all that kind of stuff. Whereas the LaVeyan Satanisms and the Temple of Satan, they are basically just glorified atheists using Satan as their kind of centerpiece of focus, because it's supposed to be about the worship of the self as opposed to actual practicing rituals that are combined within the faith.
Yeah. We had Jenny probably remembers this. We had a running joke. This was a number of years ago, but we had a running joke on this show, and we don't really talk about politics anymore on this iteration of the program, but there was Brandon Finney, who is a New Hampshire state rep.
Okay.
There was some controversy around him because he had come out as a Satanist. And he's a Republican, so he's expected to be a Christian, but he had come out as a Satanist, and a lot of people were mad at him. And apparently he's not even really a Satanist. He was just kind of trolling.
Yep.
But so we had a running joke on the show, though, for a long time that we wanted to have him on the show to discuss this with him and explore the subject, but he had some very specific demands, and that exactly he wouldn't come on unless exactly 13 days before his appearance on the show, we sacrificed a goat in the studio. And then he demanded that we this was when we were in our old studio on Elm Street on the 3rd floor. We had to then, after sacrificing the goat, push the goat out the window and onto Elm Street, and then retrieve some of the blood at that point and so forth. So he had this whole thing he wanted us to do, or he refused to come on the show. To this day, I don't know, and I'm Facebook friends with him, and we've talked, and he's been on the show. But I don't know if to this day, if he has any idea that was a running joke on the program.
That is really funny.
I don't know if he even knows. And I've never asked him if he knows, because in my twisted mind, him not knowing makes it even funnier.
Yeah.
It's just to me. But anyway, yeah, we had a running joke about that that went on for a couple of years, whenever his name would come up.
I guess if you need a goat, opened up, I moonlight as a butcher.
Yes. So. Well, I just, I used to say too, because I remember saying on the air that I had told Brandon, I said, look, dude, we're not zoned for that. And we can't risk, staining the carpets and things getting on equipment and whatnot. So he just refused.
And stuff around that's valuable.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a fine line for this kind of stuff. It's just like, I mean, if it's ritualistic, as long as it's not really harming anybody, then it is what it is. But like when you start causing like bodily harm and ending life, it's just like, okay, you're drawing a very, very quick line right there.
Yeah.
And that's really where like a lot of these people who practice these rituals, it's just like, okay, human sacrifice, you're basically taking the life of another.
Well, of course. Yeah.
So.
Or harming animals or harming any living thing, I object to, of course. But
it's like that's basically just like crossing the line and jumping off a cliff.
Oh, of course, yeah, so. Yeah, of course. How did we get onto that? I don't even remember. Oh, yeah, because we were talking about
themes of the song.
Yeah. But is Vixen the most unusual show you guys have done as far as a match with other bands, or have you done any others that are really?
I mean, Kix was more hair metal.
Yeah, Kix
you guys opened for Kix?
Yeah, that was another one we did last year too. Yeah, that one I think was a little bit more of an odder match.
Really,
as far as that goes, because I mean they are definitely a lot more glam metal than Vixen is. I mean, Vixen's a little bit more edgier than Kix is, but yeah, because it was funny, like Anthony had mentioned, because this is the first time we ever played at the Vault in New Bedford. And they're very famous for bringing in a lot of like the 80s metal bands and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was just like, because I knew the Vault. I've been to multiple shows at the Vault. It's a great venue. And he mentioned who we were playing with. And I'm actually the one who was like super influenced by the glam metal scene back in college. And I loved Kix when I was in college.
No kidding, yeah.
So as soon as he said that we were opening for Kix, I just like immediately start freaking out.
It's like when I messaged him, like, hey, Brian, we got offered a show for this band called Kix. Want to do it?
And I'm just
like I didn't know anything. I really didn't know much about Kix, and I didn't know he was a fan of Kix.
Yeah.
So it probably came off like as like a matter of fact type deal, like nonchalant. Like, we got offered a show for Kix. Want to do it?
Yeah. That one really got me excited. But the thing is just like, and this is where I kind of wish like the headliners could be a little bit more respectful to the local openers, because we arrived on the scene like right at the sound check, but they just took right off. And so we were on scene, we were interacting with everybody, saying hey, and the only time we ever got to interact with them was like a couple fans stuck around after the show. I went inside because I wanted to say thank you for having us, and I was able to talk to Brian Forsyth, the guitar player, just say thank you, and it was just like, who is this guy? So it was but I don't know. I mean, with Metal Church, they hung out with us. Oh, yeah. We were very social.
Merch tables were side by side, so we were interacting. Actually, I was helping Perks. Yeah, he was having some hip troubles. I got
Oh.
the chair and stuff. He's had hip surgery.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
as
that's
well. But
because
we-
originally they were supposed to play once again at Tupelo this year, but because he had to have that emergency surgery, they had to cancel all their dates this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and we've interacted with them. We talked with them backstage. They hung with us. They were actually like willing to just like sit and talk with us the whole time. So they were what we hope like anybody we play with would be. Just
That's
like,
cool.
Just down to
Yeah.
earth and just social. You know, I mean, you're playing with bands that are trying to be in the shoes of the people that are putting these shows together. So, and this is what we love is like we love to learn about the industry. We want to learn how to be better.
Right.
And what a better way to learn from somebody than the people who are actually in the industry itself.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to remember Kicks. Like they had a few hits,
Don't
right?
close your eyes.
Don't close your eyes.
Oh, don't close. That's the big one.
Yeah,
that was the big one,
The big
but-
power ballad. Yeah.
But obviously, like they had the long strip of songs from Cold Blood to Girl Money.
Girl Money is the one I was just thinking of because that one stands out to me because I remember the first time I heard it, I thought it was AC/DC.
Yep. And then obviously, like the whole Blow My Fuse album was like the biggest thing. But obviously, Midnight Dynamite was another great album. I think those were like the two best albums for those guys. But when they came out with their final album, Rock Your Face Off, I think back in 2013, 2014, something like that, they had two singles off of that one, which was Love Me With Your Top Down, and the other one that they worked into their final set list, which was Wheels in Motion.
Okay.
So that one was the one that kind of did. But when they played the set list live, a lot of the stuff came off of Midnight Dynamite and Blow My Fuse.
Yeah.
That was really kind of what helped.
You got to play the hits.
Yeah.
Did they close with Don't Close Your Eyes?
They actually closed with Blow My Fuse.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. And it's funny because we had no idea that they were actually going to plan on hanging it up after last year. So
It was like second to the last show, I think.
Oh, no kidding.
something along that nature, because they did they did their final show in their home state of Maryland, and back in September of 2023 they called it quits for good.
Oh, wow. So they were on a farewell tour, basically.
Yeah, which
Essentially.
they just didn't tell anyone.
Yeah, they didn't
Yeah.
tell anyone. Wow. Oh, good for them, I guess, for not going for the cash grab.
Right. And-
Motley Crue. Sorry, Motley Crue, but
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, I know.
I was like, sorry, Vince.
I mean, I feel
Yeah.
worse for John Five. I mean, I just saw him on Valentine's Day this year, and he's amazing. But it's
Oh,
just
yeah.
like for me, it just baffles me that he's working with those guys in like Motley Crue, and like they've got everybody in Motley Crue is just like so out there. I mean, Nikki Sixx, he's a bright dude, but like Vince and Tommy, they are just wow.
Oh my God.
Gosh.
The last time I saw Motley Crue, this must have been 10 years ago. They were on the co-headlining tour they did with Kiss. And during Don't Go Away, Matt. Now, everyone knows Vince sounds terrible
Bad.
live. But you don't, like with a lot of bands, though, you don't necessarily notice it if you're actually seeing them live. You don't realize it till later when you go find the YouTube video.
Yep.
Because when you're live, you're in the moment, everything's loud, and you just don't notice. But Vince, during Don't Go Away Mad, the fast part
Yeah.
at the end, at one point he hits a note that was so like, what is that? That my friend Dan, WMNH listeners know him as Dan Randall of Dan Randall and the Randlettes. Dan and I actually looked at each other like, what was that? Like he just
Yeah.
was so. And then recently, I saw a video of them from recently playing. They opened a set with Primal Scream, which happens to be my favorite Motley Crue song. I was like, oh, cool. I play it. And as soon as Vince starts, it's like he's not even singing. He's just kind of blurting out the words.
Yeah.
And I was like, it sounded so bad.
Yeah, because I think the last time I saw them, they were doing a headlining tour with Hinder as their opener.
Oh, yeah.
This was at the Bank of New Hampshire Pavilion.
The Lips of an Angel guy.
Yeah, exactly.
guys.
And
Yeah.
one hit wonder in them. But and I still remember, like, as soon as they go into Dr. Feelgood, I'm just listening to him. He's not even singing half the words.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was also a tough concert for me because some moron behind me, as I was sitting watching the show, headbanging too hard, accidentally headbutts me in the back of the head and gives me a concussion.
Oh my God, really?
So I'm literally like, I felt like somebody had driven like a railroad stake through my head.
Oh my God.
So after Dr. Feelgood, me and my dad looked at each other because like I was about ready to throw up because
Yeah.
I had a migraine so bad.
Oh.
And me and my dad looked at each other, was like, we need to get out of here. Like, I'm in a lot of pain. This show is absolutely terrible. And and it's just making my headache worse at this point.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was. I have to say that would probably be one of the worst, if not the absolute worst show I've ever seen in my life. And I've been to hundreds of shows.
Yeah.
I think that one has to take the cake. It's the worst show I've ever been to.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Now, do you guys have a favorite in terms of shows that you've played? Is there one that maybe the Metal Church show? I don't know. Is there
Metal
one
Church is definitely high up there, but I think when we played
Corn
with
and Stained.
Yeah, Corn and Stained, I think is definitely the one that when we played at the Bank of New Hampshire Pavilion back in 2021, we opened for Corn and Stained on the hazy little stage.
Oh wow!
And that one was wild. It was. I mean, so it was. It was very hot outside. Oh wait, no,
It was raining.
Oh, it was raining. I'm sorry,
Yes,
I'm confusing the other one from 2019. But yeah, it was rainy. It was cold because this was in the beginning of October because they had to
Postpone it because Dave's got COVID.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it was cold and rainy. We played great the first set, and then back before they have all the new stuff at the Bank of New Hampshire Pavilion, they had to change up because there was a lot of noise complaints coming in. So the local artists would play a second set after the main show.
But people were walking out.
Yeah.
And they didn't walk out. They just stayed, and they jumped up on stage as we were playing.
Yeah.
Like security had to start pulling people.
Like they pulled security.
Really?
They pulled security from the main stage to our stage because we had people who were like rushing on our stage, like jumping off the stage and stuff like that.
Wow.
And like security actually had to pull them off.
No kidding.
It was very wild. It was probably one of the most liveliest crowds, if not the liveliest crowd we've ever played to. But it was just so great.
Oh wow!
That was the energy we try to strive for at our shows. It was so perfect.
Is there any video of that? Do you have any?
We had the video from like more the front of the stage where like there's like the mosh pit going on. There's like guys shirtless. Mind you, 50 degrees and raining out. These guys are shirtless doing like a mosh pit stuff. There's one guy going in the background.
Yeah.
And you can see probably a little bit more Brian than me.
Yep.
But I just remember like looking back on if any of you guys hit my amplifier.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be really upset.
And this is what I mean. It's just like I'm looking at him like this is great, but I think we should probably get this guy off of here. So I'm just it's funny because it's a pleasant excitement, but obviously history.
There's a liability incurred too.
Huge liability.
Yeah, no doubt. Wow. Now, so what is the songs that we're playing today? We played the Murder song, and we're gonna close in a few minutes with the other one that I absolutely love. But are these part of an album that's available?
Second album, Vindicated.
Vindicated. Okay, when did that come out?
So we released that back in July 29th of 2022.
Okay.
That was we actually took advantage of the pandemic, and we still got together. We took the time when we weren't playing. We wrote the album, we recorded it, and that was when we ended up releasing it. So we stayed productive during that whole time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Bruce from Legion of Solace says, I remember that show. I was in your mosh pit.
Oh, no
Awesome.
kidding. I love it.
Yes.
He was there. Yeah.
Yes, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's very cool. Very cool. Are you working on new material?
Yeah,
Yep,
we're debuting a brand new song from the next album.
Two new songs. Well, we played one of the new songs that we had at Porch Fest in Rochester last year.
2 years ago. 2
2 years ago. Okay. So we haven't actually put it on an album, but yeah, we have a brand new song that we have never played live before that we are debuting next Thursday at the Bank of New Hampshire Pavilion. So if you
this Thursday, right?
We're still in the current week, so I say I'll call it next Thursday. Once Sunday comes around, then I say this.
Yeah.
So yeah, next Thursday we'll be debuting a new
Hopefully
song.
I don't forget the words. It's always an interesting take, like the first time singing a song. 'Cause I sing and play at the same time.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's always a matter of walking and chewing gum at the same time. Playing and keeping track of everything all together and stuff.
Why does that ever happen live where you forget the words?
On occasion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as so my thing at band practice, and it drives Brian nuts. Actually drives my wife nuts too.
Yes.
And I find it so I do a lot of nas when I can't remember words.
Oh, okay.
Or when I'm
Drives me
trying
up a
to
wall.
like na, and I'll do it for an entire song.
Yeah.
And if you can imagine hearing a 6-minute song with that nas going through it.
Hey, that's all right. That's you're scatting.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with that.
This is why I always look to the drummer. I'm like, I hope you got enough sticks so you can huck one at him.
Right.
There've been a lot of projectiles. It's quite hilarious.
Yeah.
But I've never done a not at a show. I've always if anything, I would just repeat a verse or something.
Yeah.
I'm never doing this long enough that I can kind of catch myself. I know when I've messed up, but I recovered pretty quick. I mean,
Yeah.
you kind of say when playing guitar, it's like you learn to recover pretty quick when
Yeah.
you make a mistake.
And this is where like I try to stay focused on my playing as far as and like because like if I'm looking out, next thing you know I'm spacing out and I'm hitting the wrong note. I'm like, oh wait a minute, I got to recenter myself. So this is why every time I'm playing, I'm literally looking at my finger so I don't get lost.
Become an lead singer and you'll never space out. Trust me, there's
Yeah.
too many things going on at the
Right.
same time.
Right.
Yep.
You got a lot to keep track of.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
And we also the one song we one of our cover songs actually one of the few songs I can sing and actually play a guitar solo at the same time.
What song? What do you?
Peace Sells by Megadeth.
Oh, nice.
Well,
Nice.
I mean, I take the most of the lead vocals on that one. So.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we're gonna try to do that one. We've done that one before live, but it's been a while, so we'll be playing that one again live as well. But that's it's funny because like I know Anthony does a lot of like he does all the original vocals and stuff like that. But obviously, like if we're playing multiple shows in a row, there's going to be a lot of like vocal exhaustion.
Yeah.
And I've been able to step up to the plate.
Yeah, it helps. It gives my throat a little bit of a break. 'Cause
Yeah.
people realize when you're playing 60 minutes or 90-minute set.
Yeah.
We don't sing laid back music at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would say as far as our repertoire goes, like I know Anthony sings all of the originals. I would say I probably sing like maybe 95% of the covers.
Okay.
It helps give him a break, and
Yeah.
because I know how the stuff goes.
Yeah. Peace Cells must be fun.
Oh, that
Yeah,
song,
it
that
is.
song's a
Play,
blast.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, me a little biased because it has one of the most iconic bass openings ever
Yes.
recorded,
Yes.
and I get to start the song with that one. So,
Oh, that's really cool. And it's timeless,
of course,
The song is just timeless. What should people know? We're gonna play this other track in a moment when we wrap up. The time goes quickly, but
Yes.
what should people know about where to find you guys online, how to keep up with everything that you're doing, and plug that show that you've got coming up again too.
All right, so you can find us online. We have our own website, purgingsyn.com. Both of our albums are available on all streaming services: YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify. Follow us on Facebook. We have an Instagram we're trying to grow at Purging_Sin, and we will be. And our next show is going to be at the Bank of New Hampshire Pavilion on the hazy little stage, which is the side stage. As you walk through the front entrance, before Godsmack, Nothing More, and Flat Black, we go on at 6 p.m.
Excellent. Yeah, that's a big deal. Congratulations on that. That's very cool.
Thank you.
We're also on Bands in Town and Reverb Nation. That also gives a list of upcoming shows in sequential order and locations.
Okay. Excellent. And before we play this Hell on the Horizon, and by the way, like I said, I love this song, but just quickly give us the backstory for people who are just joining us. Give us the backstory one more time on this.
So I started writing it prior to Brian entering in the band. I knew 'cause the original title was From Triumph to Tragedy.
Oh,
It was
okay.
about someone trying to come from another country to America to get a better life. And I kind of twist things up. They see the Statue of Liberty and their boat sinks for whatever reason and they
Yeah.
drowned.
Yeah.
So like you're getting so close, but then hell's on the horizon. You just don't know it yet.
Yep.
And unfortunately, it became like symbolic for Matt Harris that hell was on the horizon. We just didn't know he had cancer either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the first song Brian ever contributed. I showed him the little bridge section, and he's like, "Well, I made this. Can I fit it in?" And we ended up fitting it in,
Right.
and he started. That was like the first foray into him, contributing to Purging Sin.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's the first song I was actually featured on and so the clean part, the little bass interlude, that was something I was just messing around with. I thought it was kind of neat, and we were able to work it in. And then obviously too, as we mentioned previously in the show, it's the last song that Matt Harris actually ever recorded with us before he passed away. It's funny because like I was trying to suggest a little bit more of a shorter kind of title for the whole thing. I was just like, because we're going along with the theme, I was just like, well, why don't we just say something like Hell's on the Horizon or something like that? And then that eventually became the title of the song.
Yeah.
So, and it actually was a little bit more of a catchier thing. We actually recorded that song as a single with a friend of mine from college who runs his own independent studio. I don't know if it still exists, Audio Pond Studios in Francistown. And he recorded it for us as a favor. And that was kind of like the first single to actually come off of Vindicated before The Murder became the other single that we released.
Oh, okay. Okay. Very good. So we're going to play this. And Anthony and Brian, thank you guys so much. This
Absolutely.
has been
Thank you for having us
Thanks
on.
for having
we,
us.
We love
Always a
coming
pleasure.
on.
absolutely wonderful to have you here. I love what you're doing. Love the sound. And I like I said, I absolutely love this song. If you are listening live on Saturday morning, stick around. We've got Tom Russo coming up next in the third hour, but we'll finish off this hour with this. This is Hell on the Horizon, Purging Sin.